part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night. It's the let's see, it's May 4th. Happy Star Wars Day to you. I think that's how we celebrate that. May the 4th is what they say. May the 4th be with you. Uh, Jay, that has been a tradition that I think started, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and it seems like it's like a real thing now, right?
I
Don't you
know.
think?
I've
I mean,
seen
I
so
see.
many posts on social media today. I hear people in the news talking about it. It was on the radio today. I mean, and they act like it's an official holiday.
Yeah. Well, what we need to do is put that together with Cinco de Mayo and have a 4-day weekend, right? I mean,
That
that would be two holidays that Americans have made up, right? I mean, Cinco de Mayo is a holiday for Mexico, not the
right.
United States, right? But we celebrate it. It's funny. You talk to folks in Mexico, and you're like, they don't have a clue what Cinco de Mayo is. They
No.
celebrate. They have another. There's another day that they celebrate that's not May the 5th,
I mean,
but
it's literally May the 5th. That's all it is.
we
You
have
made it.
we have totally hijacked another culture's holiday and made it our own. It's just hilarious. Well, the dangerous part is this year, it's on Friday. So, I mean, I just can't imagine what tomorrow is going to be like. I don't know about you, but here in Omaha, I mean, we celebrate Cinco de Mayo like it's we've been doing it for 100 years,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
our
It's like
holiday.
St. Patty's Day.
Tequila and tacos and whatever, and you're like, yeah, you do realize this has nothing to do with you. And they're like, that doesn't matter. We're having tequila and tacos,
Yep.
right? Oh my
Why not?
gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I have a new beer, but what do you got? What are you drinking anything tonight? Speaking
Don't
of Cinco de Mayo, you drinking
don't
anything
make
tonight?
fun of me, sir.
Okay. All right. What do you got?
But
Ooh.
I I have a full glass today, no rocks, and it's full because the reason it's full, not that I'm going to complain, is
Yeah.
because I've got two sample bottles in one glass. So it's two sample bottles of Jack Daniel's Apple
Oh. Now, okay. For folks listening, you live in
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 bourbon country,
bourbon country. Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though
Yeah.
that's whiskey.
Yeah. Well, and Jack Daniels is Tennessee, but
Yes.
it's that part of the country, right?
So
How did you come across these two samples?
the store right down the road has got
Oh,
a
okay.
sample shelf. I mean, when I say sample shelf, I mean there's hundreds of
Yeah.
samples.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
hundreds.
Little shooters.
Yeah.
Little shooters.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see them, but they're back there on the
Mm-hmm.
shelf there. Tiny little ones. So, two of them, I've taken a couple sips at the moment, but two of them fill the typical whiskey glass.
Yeah. No, that's nice. What's the give us a taste? What do you think? Appley for sure. Over too
Oh,
much apple or
it is for sure apple. It is like,
yeah.
think apple juice with a bite.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Okay.
got the Jack Daniels compared to Kentucky bourbon, which is if really where I'm from is the Kentucky bourbon area.
Mm-hmm.
It's got much more bite to it than bourbon does.
Okay.
So this is comparative. Will have it's apple juice with a bite is really what it is,
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and I
it's
like it.
tasty though.
It
Yeah.
it'd probably be better cold,
Okay.
but
Would you throw some ice cubes in it, or
I
would
would,
that
yeah.
water it down? Oh, well, you
No, I
can
would
if you need
definitely
to.
do it. I mean, I did not, and you know what? Typically, I do because I prefer the bourbons cold.
Yeah.
It's not that I want to water it down. I want that the flavor profile comes out better when you put an ice cube in it or a drop of
Yeah.
water.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
understand that, but the reason I do it is because I just like it cold. I don't like drinking
Yeah.
it warm.
Yeah. 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 Drinking it neat, as
Yeah,
they say. Drinking it neat. It's
I
nice.
do have the cubes back there and all that stuff too.
Yeah. The like the
The
metal,
whiskey
like
rocks.
the you put in the fridge and then you just pull them out. And they don't
Yeah,
dilute the water. Yeah, they
they're
don't
the
dilute the
stones
drink.
and stuff.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
My wife bought them. I'm telling you, ever since I moved to Kentucky, the only gift I get is bourbon related stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
bottle
Yeah.
after bottle, rocks, books, everything about bourbon.
Well, you live. I mean, you're there.
I'm
You're right in the
telling you.
middle of it all.
And
I'm a
this
little jealous,
weekend,
but It would be bad
Don't,
for me. It would be bad for me if I lived close to you.
it's a beautiful area. I mean, I love it here. I mean, it's definitely beautiful. I never in a million years would think I'd live in Kentucky, but I do, and I love it.
Well, good.
And
Yeah.
the what's it? The Kentucky Derby is happening, and today at work we were supposed to go down and watch some of the races before the Derby starts.
Is that this weekend or?
I think it is, yeah,
Yeah.
because we were supposed to go today. The company got a booth, yeah, I guess it's a booth over there, and they were all there today drinking and hooping and hollering and stuff.
Yeah. It's a big tradition.
It is. I've never been.
It's a big. You should. Are you going?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, Bust Out says he must be at work. He says, of course, they frown on drinking alcohol at work. So we have we at Gallup after 3 o'clock. Kind of is the like you can we did. We were talking about Cinco de Mayo just a second ago. We had our Cinco de Mayo celebration on Tuesday, so the second. And we had Corona and we had dips and all these Mexican themed things, right? And we did a 1 mile walk or a 5K run was available there, and so we did that on campus after 3. So sometimes where you work will work out. Bust Out also says not like when I worked at a wine distributor.
Right.
IT meeting started with a bottle. I'm tonight. So last night I had my number 2 son over. It was so beautiful here. So we sat on the deck, enjoyed probably a little too much. And then my oldest got a little jealous. He wouldn't say that, but he was like, so he pinged me today. Hey, what are you doing? So he came over at 5 and I just came off the deck. So if I sound happy,
I'm happy.
it's because I am. I've got a little brown honey. I just found this beer in one of our liquor stores here in town. 4.5%. I think it's New York based. Let's see. Genesee Specialty Honey Brown. It's supposed to be kind of a light, crisp lager with a little bit of honey. It's pretty good. It's pretty light, refreshing. Summer. Do you have a summer go-to beer, Jay, that you go to? Is there anything? Do you do a lot of folks do shandies and some of those kinds of things?
No, nothing's particular. I mean, if I'm out, it's usually just something like a Mick Ultra or something like that.
Yeah. No.
Or what I found we discussed last time was what was it the hard not the hard cider, was it the Wild Orchard?
Mm-hmm.
That was
angry orchard.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you. That was really good.
Yeah.
Really good. I never had that before, and last year I drank a few of those.
They're good. We have a place called Glacial Till here in Omaha, and they make a really good. I think that's in Omaha local. They make ciders have gotten kind of popular over the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I've never. I mean, I've heard of it before, but it's pretty available here. So I was out someplace, and we had that. And it's funny. You were talking about drinking at work. When I was working in Silicon Valley, every one of the tech companies had a bar in the office, like a full blown bar with a bartender.
Yeah.
And you could go and order yourself a drink, and it's free of charge, and you drink any time of the day or night. Doesn't matter.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can do it responsibly, that's the.
Well, I think that's what it's all about, right?
That's the thing. Yeah, I was out at a credit union in Illinois. I don't know, a couple months ago. They had actually built a restaurant as part of their bank, so they took over this Costco or Walmart that had moved, right? So big building, and they put in kind of when I say restaurant, it's really more like a Panera, if you think of it that way, a coffee place, right, with some food. And in the back they had like the company bar, and you could sign the thing out. It's like you'd be like, okay, starting, and I think they had a 4 o'clock. They put a 4 o'clock thing on it, like after 4 you could start that, but you had to sign it out, and then you had to make sure it was cleaned up when you left. But it was a great opportunity for folks to gather together. It's kind of nice. Yeah, it's kind of nice. I find those things kind of nice. Little happy hours, or trying to do more of those now that we're back. Working at work.
I never saw anything like that until the first one was at PayPal. I went to
Yeah.
PayPal
Yeah.
for a meeting, and I walked in, and I looked over there in shock. I'm like, "Is that a bar?" He's like, "Yeah, you want a drink?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." He goes, "You know what? I'll go grab one." He grabs a beer and sits down,
Yeah.
and we're right there in the lobby having a meeting.
Hmm.
I was like, "Okay,
Yeah. It's a little. I think we've loosened up a little bit on that. So Bust Out says last time I went to Yard House, they had pineapple cider, which was really
that
nice.
sounds
That
good.
sounds good.
I love
Yeah, that
pineapple."
does sound good. Yeah, we had Mark on last week, and and I haven't done this. I didn't do this as much last year as I did 2 years ago, but we'd buy whole pineapples, and then I've got that Pampered Chef pineapple coring thing, right? And it slices it in spirals as it goes down, takes the core out. We'd slice those in half and throw them right on the grill, and so toast those things up, get them caramelized, pull them off. You got to give them some time. You can't. You're not pulling hot pineapple. Hot pineapple, not my favorite.
No,
But pull it
it's
off the grill, let it
thick.
cool down. Yeah, it just doesn't taste very good hot. That's so let it cool down, but you get kind of a caramelized taste on it. Put it on top of your chops.
We have a
Some of those
Thai
kinds of
restaurant
things.
here where they serve you a meal in half of a pineapple. I'm sure people have seen that around, but I mean,
Oh,
that's
oh,
wonderful.
that's interesting.
It's like a
I never thought of
stir
using the
fry
rind. Yeah,
inside of a pineapple.
yeah, I never thought of using the rind for that. That'd be a good.
It's awesome.
I'll have to give that a try. That's a good. There you go. Because I always just
Right, toss it.
you throw that part of. Although that's not totally true. Sometimes I've cut the rind in strips, and then because you're just looking for the juice, so just put the rind on top of the chops, or you could do it with ribs if you want to do it that way, where then it'll just kind of seep in as you go, and then when you're done, you can just toss it. You don't have to, you don't have to worry about it. It's a good way to use the rind on a. Well, this isn't the barbecue show, but all of a sudden we've
Now,
defaulted to the
now I'm
barbecue show.
hungry.
Well, I like this. This is good. I bought a 12 pack. I think I'll. This is a good summer start. It's kind of we love shandies, so I'll pick up a whole bunch of shandies for the summer. Have those around. You a lemon fan? Do you like lemon shandies?
Yeah, I like lemon, but not that much. Not enough.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm a big my daughter in particular is a big lemon fan, so we keep some around. All right, let's kick this thing off, guys. Thanks for coming out tonight. Brian, bust out. I see you out there. Ken was out there a little bit earlier. Good to see you guys checking in. Let's get to this. Jay, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me.
See if I can see if I can make it through this show. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geek, show number 571, recorded on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, 2023. Here in Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. Spring has arrived, maybe pre-summer. I don't know. It's been nice. The wind has been down. We've been on the deck. My voice is a little lower because I've probably been enjoying too many beverages and a few cigars out there. But of course, we post a show with some world-class show notes out at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget the episode affiliate sponsor is Nespresso, and appreciate you guys using that code. A bunch of you have. If you head out to Nespresso.com and use MQU328, you get $40 off your first machine, and they'll send you a little free capsule dispenser as well. Great way. If you're drinking bad coffee, just stop doing it. It's not worth it. You can easily make pretty good coffee. I shouldn't say pretty good. It's actually pretty great. I enjoy it. I know Brian said he likes it. Aaron said she likes it. And so a few of you have tried it as well. By the way, if you've tried it, you're new to it, shoot me an email, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. I'd love to hear if you've enjoyed it as much as well. Jay, what do you do? Are you a coffee guy, or what do you do for coffee?
I am not a coffee guy, sir. I do love the way it smells, but I do not like the way it tastes. So I've never
Too
been
bitter?
a coffee guy.
Too bitter for you?
No, it's just not my
Yeah.
flavor profile
Okay.
there.
Okay.
So bourbon
Yeah.
in the morning is good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they pour it out in the streets where you live, right? It's
It's on
basically the
tap. You
water.
walk
Yeah.
around. Yeah. It's right in
Everybody
the
has
spigot
a
of your house. You get some bourbon. It's
at
the
the
bourbon
sink, you have
spigot, babe.
fresh water and then a bourbon spigot, right, on
Yeah.
tap right for you there. Where tell for folks who don't know where you live, tell us where you reside.
Well, I am from Boston, but I am residing in northern Kentucky, right on the Cincinnati border.
Yeah,
My
just
street actually dead ends on the Ohio River.
oh yeah. So you're super close to Cincinnati, super close to Ohio,
Yeah,
but you're right in bourbon country.
I am right in the
Yeah.
heart of it. My
Yeah.
office is smack dab in a triangle between Buffalo Trace, Woodford Reserve, and Jim Beam. I mean, I can
All really
see
good. Yeah, all
Buffalo
really good
Trace
bourbons.
from my office.
Can you is it just available everywhere? It's such a hot commodity in the US. Everybody's always hunting down Buffalo Trace. Can you get it like at 7-Eleven
You can
or
get
Quick
it
Trip or whatever?
anywhere you want. Any place that
What's
sells alcohol, you can get some Buffalo Trace.
what's your gas station? Everybody, you got a Sitco, right? Is that a Sitco hat that you have on?
This
That's
is
a
a
Boston
Sicko
thing
hat, but
on.
it says
Yeah,
Fenway because the
yeah,
Fenway has the Sicko sign that hangs over the park.
right, right. But is there in Cincinnati? Is there like we have Quick Trip here in the Midwest?
Yeah,
Is there
they
a
have
gas
some,
station
but
of choice?
they have the typicals. Nothing too fancy. It's more truck
Okay,
stops.
okay, yeah.
So we get the Shell stations and the typical gas stations, but most of the stuff is the BPs and then you get the Love's truck stops and that type of stuff.
Love's has gotten big. Yeah, they've
Oh
gotten
yeah.
big. Yeah, yeah. I didn't introduce him. Jay Franze is hanging out with us tonight. Franze and friends. How's the podcast going? You were doing some new things the last time we chatted. How's that going?
We did, and it's going wonderful. It has put a whole new life back into things. What we've done is split the show into, rather than trying to cram everything into one show, we basically made two segments and turned them into two feeds.
Oh,
So
good.
we have the Jay Franze show is where I interview people, and I'm interviewing people in the entertainment industry, and we get stories and stuff of behind the scenes things that you would never find anyplace else. So I interview, and like I had a comedian on last week, and that was a really good time. And he told me all about how he got his start and what it was like behind the scenes in that world.
Yeah.
But typically, we have people in the music industry. That's where
Okay.
I've worked for 30 years. So I
Nice.
had Reba McEntire's guitar player. One of the Oak Ridge Boys came on the other day. So we talked to them, and they just tell stories that we wouldn't normally hear. What it's like on the road, or how they do things before the curtain goes up.
Okay.
So it's that type of stuff. And then
Yeah.
Franze and Friends is basically, we call it a leadership show, but it's a leadership in the entertainment industry where we talk to people who work in the entertainment industry, and we offer up more of a educational show. We talk about how to do things behind the scenes and stuff.
Is that still you and Fola? Is you guys still doing that together?
It's myself and a girl named Jenny Wick.
Oh,
So
okay.
Jenny Wick I met her in Nashville. She was a producer, engineer in Nashville. She has now moved to the West Coast, and she is doing fitness stuff. She
Mm,
she has a fitness show, and she's a fitness coach. Still does all the production stuff, but she's a fitness coach, and she also rides motorcycles. So she's got three YouTube channels, and she
wow.
keeps up with them all. She's got more
Nice.
energy than one person needs.
If folks wanted to listen, where can they find both podcasts?
jfranze.com.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect.
JayFranze.com.
Good to have you back tonight. Big thanks to our friend Mark Robson, who joined us last week. And Jay, you were in the chat room asking some questions
I was.
uh, of Mark. It's an important time of the year, right? Getting ready for grilling. And did you take away anything from that show? Was there anything you
Well,
pulled out of
yes,
that thing?
I asked the question. I am not the cook in the house. My wife definitely handles all of that, even the grilling. But she was complaining. We bought a new grill when we moved into this house. That was 2.5 years ago at this point. And the grill is very nice. But lately, every time she's turned it on, it's low flame, and she'll just be cooking something as normal, and all of a sudden the food catches on fire.
Mm,
And I asked about that on her behalf, and it seems like a very easy solution to fix. So I was telling her about it, and we're going to go ahead and try that on our next go around with the grill.
Was it the tents?
Yes,
Oh,
the
good.
the metal tent, and it's got
Yeah.
the build up under it.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that and make sure it's all cleaned out, and we're gonna let it
Cool.
burn for. We're gonna just turn it on and let it burn for a few, I say a
Yeah.
few hours, but a good period of time before we
Good half
put
hour.
something
Get it
on it.
hot. Yeah, get something hot. Burn some of that stuff off. I find sometimes when I'm cleaning it, it dislodges some stuff, and that'll cause some flare ups. Look, I think a lot of folks just cook too hot, to be honest. And so if you can get the flame down. The other thing I've used is those. They have little rocks that are they're like pressed concrete, but they're like dominoes is what they are. And I put those over my burner, and so the flames have to come up through the rocks first. Now you got to let it preheat a little bit because you got to get the rocks warm so that they're radiating the heat, but it kind of keeps the flare ups down as well. And actually, in some cases, I've done both. I've put the rocks on the bottom, and then I've put those little tents on top to just kind of help dissipate some of the grease that comes off some
Yeah,
of the
I've
meat.
never
So you have
seen
to
anything
tell how
like
it
it.
goes. Yeah, yeah.
Never seen
There.
food catch on fire. I mean, unless you're
Well,
turning that flame
right,
up.
right. Yeah. Well, you've never cooked bacon straight on the grill then, because that
No,
catches fire every
I
time.
have not.
it's it's pretty good. Well, the only reason we do it is because every Thanksgiving I cook turkeys and I bacon wrap them, and then my cast iron grates are dried out. 4, 5, 6 hours of smoking a turkey. Those grates get dried out, so I take the bacon off and put it right on the grill, and it reseasons the grill. But that thing catches fire every time because it's bacon. Like it's
Right.
supposed to catch fire, right? So I have to be super careful with it. Well, I'm glad you pulled something from that, Mark. Thanks for joining us. I think he was talking on the show that he was looking at a couple Komodo or the insulated grills that, and I think he bought two already. So he after the show he bought a few more. The ones he had were getting a little long in the tooth, and he bought a new one as well. So Mark, thanks for coming on. Always great to have you, and always reminding me that I need to grill a little bit more. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers as well. If you're a Patreon subscriber to this show, thank you. Thanks for doing that. We got one plan. It's $5, super easy. If you want to jump in on the team, that always helps. Like having your support. Some folks want to give back. Jay, for a lot of years, I didn't even offer an option to support the show, and I had some folks say, "Hey, I really want to give back. Can you just make a way to do it?" We did PayPal for a while, but Patreon was a super easy way to do it. You can do it for 1 month or forever, whatever you want to do. Check it out, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. Jay, tonight I want to talk a little bit about fire pits. You had a fire pit question, and 2 years ago I built a fire pit in my backyard, and I built it on a slope. And we kind of built it in the hill, and I thought that'd be all right. And then we started going out there and sitting. We take the chairs out there, and the slope was just enough that if after you've maybe had a few and you raise your hand up to do something, you tip over. Your center of balance would be a little off. You tip over. Sammy did that, ran into me, and we ended up on the ground. It's not bad, but my wife said, it'd be kind of nice if we kind of leveled that out. So I've been spending some time over the last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks, putting in landscaping timbers so that I can start leveling out that area. We'll move some dirt around and move it. Just get that level, some wood chips on it, some rock, and some of those kinds of things. Kind of gives me something to do. But you got some questions about fire pits, so I wanna say you're thinking about this. Tell me a little bit about what you want and what you're trying to achieve with an outdoor fire pit, because they're super technical now. This is the crazy thing. Fire pits used to spend $100, you put wood in it, it burned. Now they're like $500, and they do all kinds of cool things. So tell me what you're looking for.
Well, that's good to know because I would just go out and throw a bunch of rocks down and tell my wife, "There we go." Uh,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
again, not my specialty. I'm from Boston. We don't do fire pits in our yards in
Hmm.
Boston.
Hmm.
But my wife, being from the South, she's always had things like that. And I'm new here. We bought the house in Kentucky, and we're lucky. Our house backs up to one of those neighborhood lakes. It's not a big lake. It's just a neighborhood community lake.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a nice, pretty view, and it'd be nice to sit out there. So we have a back deck and a back patio, similar to what you have. Our deck is up, a few chairs and our grill, And then the patio, we have a couple more chairs, and we have a fire pit, but it's one of those portable ones, and it's nice to have. But it's
Yeah.
propane, and
Oh,
for
okay.
whatever reason, the propane we have it does not get tucked under the fire pit, so it
Okay.
has to have a tube out, and so you can see the propane
Yeah.
tank.
Yeah.
And it just gets in the way. My kids trip over the hose and all that stuff. But our backyard is it's not that long from our house to the water. It's maybe 20 or so feet. But the yard goes out flat for the most part, but once you get towards the water, it does have a little bit of a slant to it, a little drop off. Not a big one, but enough, like you said, that you would notice it.
Yeah.
So, what I would like to do is put a not just the stones on the ground. I would like to build up maybe 3 or 4 brick level
Hmm.
stones up, nice typical circular pit, and build it into that slant. So, kind of carve out a flat area into that slant enough where we could have some Adirondack chairs and sit around it.
Yeah.
So there has to be enough room between the retaining wall that I guess we would need
Right. Right.
and the fire pit to have a chair and have enough room for your legs and that type
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah. Do you have any? I looked for regulations from, city Bellevue city regulations. Like, hey, I'm putting a fire pit in my backyard. It needs to be a certain distance from things. Do you have any of that kind of? Do you know? Have you looked? Do you have any kind of regulations or anything?
I don't know. I have not looked, but it is Kentucky. And every one of my neighbors seems to have some sort of fire
Yeah.
pit in their
Yeah.
backyard.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And one of the neighbors across the water, they have the literal just big stones in a circle, and they just throw wood in the middle of it. So nothing fancy. But
Okay.
my neighbor
Okay.
right next door to me makes us look bad because he's got the real nice one. So he's like, you can come over and use it whenever you want. I'm like, that's
You're like, no,
great,
I
but
want to do it on my
I
property.
want one of my own.
Right, right. Do you have access to, like, when you're talking about the slope? Do you have access to, how much dirt are you removing? If you're gonna let, well, there's two ways to do this, right? One would be remove dirt. The other would be build a retaining wall and fill it in, right? So you're trucking dirt in, or you're trucking, something in to kind of fill in that space. Do you have access to any of that kind of equipment or anything to make that a little
Oh
bit
no,
easier? Okay.
no.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sure my neighbors have things that we could use.
Yeah.
However, what I'm looking to do is remove dirt,
Okay.
and we're
Okay.
not talking a lot. We're talking
Yeah.
maybe a foot. So
Okay.
I'm
That's
sure I
still,
could go out there with a shovel if I needed to.
well, it's surprising how I've been out digging in my, I'm doing what you're talking about right now. And, half an hour of digging, you're like, man, I'm glad I'm not a ditch digger.
Right,
That's, my parents always told me, if you don't get good grades, you're going to dig
right.
ditches the rest of your life. Right. And I was like, whatever. It can't be that hard.
It's
It's hard. It's hard. We've been putting footers in. We're removing dirt. That's what I decided to do too. And well, some build up, some removal, and we've been putting footers in. So I've been digging a little bit. It's a good workout. It's one of those kinds of things where you're like, well, okay, I can, moving a shovel around is a little bit of work, but pace yourself in that. Okay, so I built my fire pit first, and I think my advice to you would be build the platform first. So go in and kind of determine. And one of the things I kind of figured out, or what we did here, was I built it into the grass, and then we kind of used it for a couple years, and I wanted to see how much grass did I kill. Like, so that would tell me, like, how wide do I need to have this thing to really make it. And we put in a 3-foot fire pit. We bought one of those 3-foot, like, horse watering. You throw that thing down. It's 3 foot in diameter. That's a little wide for I mean, you can buy these kits. Like, you could go to your big box store and buy a kit that's got the stone and the circle. 3 foot's a little big. I mean, how big do you want this thing to be, do you think?
you know I didn't think about it, but I'm gonna guess it probably would be about 3 foot. Do they? You say it's a little big, so I'm assuming that means they're smaller.
Well, yeah, 24, so 36,
Because
24,
my yard's not that
30.
big.
Okay. Okay. Well, the question I'd have for you is, what's your access to wood? Like, do you have really good? I mean, do you have wood to spare? Are you having to buy it?
No,
Are you having?
I'd be buying it.
Okay, so well, smaller is better, right? Because if you're just looking for the ambiance of a fire pit, right? In you go 3 foot, I found, man, I burn a lot of wood. That's a lot of space to kind of keep the flame going. A 24, a 30 or a 24-inch ring is probably you're probably better off, right? Getting that getting a little bit smaller of a ring. Less rock, less dirt to move. And then I found keeping about 7 to 8 feet around the outside of the pit is kind of a nice, you can, if the fire gets really hot, you can kind of move back from it. If it's not hot enough, you can kind of move up to it.
So you said
So
7 or 8 feet?
yeah, 7 to 8 feet is kind of what I the nice thing about that is that if you're using timber, landscaping timber to or anything to go around it, generally those come in 8 foot increments. So you're using full length, you're using a full length timber or whatever. Pretty easy. Again, I kind of wanted to see how much space we're using. Think about a chair you're taking out there,
Right.
takes up three, about 3 or 4 feet of space with
Well,
you in it, right?
I pulled up pictures. Adirondack chairs are large. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
considering whatever the fire pit size is, say the 3 foot or a little smaller, then the chairs, you probably would need about 8 feet around it. And
yeah, yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm envisioning the neighbor's one right now, and I can't imagine that being more than 3 feet. I don't think they
yeah.
have more than, I think they sit on the retaining wall.
Okay. Well, yeah, yeah, and that is another. I'm building in some benches to the hillside of my retaining wall so that I got to have the retaining wall there anyways. So I'm going to build that up and put some benches on it. But those are 7.5, 8 feet away from the. That way you can sit out there if you want to. If you can we can bring chairs in and get closer to it if you want to. So some
Hmm.
things to consider. The big box stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, they almost always have Menards in our area.
Yeah, we have
They
one in
almost
Mills
always
as well.
have. Do you guys have Menards
Yeah.
there? They have kits often that you can buy that come with all the block and in a ring. Now, one of the things I liked about I bought a 3 foot diameter by, I don't know how high that is, whatever this is, 18 inches, 24 inches. It's something high. Um, so this is where the technology comes in. When I was putting this thing together, so I cleared out a spot, and then I actually did this thing where you lay concrete dry. I don't know if you've ever done that before. I put the concrete down, so I got 2 bags of concrete, put them inside the ring, so poured them in, leveled it out, and then I just sprayed water on it. A lot of folks want to put the concrete in the wheelbarrow, and then you gotta churn it and churn it and churn it, and then pour it out, and then make a flat surface. No, it's a lot easier. Just take that concrete, put it on the ground in a form, dry, then just gently start spraying water over it until it's soaked. You're not putting a shed on this thing. You're not putting you know, you're putting a fire pit on this thing. And I did want a firm base on the bottom of my fire pit, right? I wanted that. So I don't know exactly what they call that, but I call it like dry laying concrete. Put it down first, then just gently water it until it's completely wet, and then it'll firm up nicely for you. It saves you the hassle of having to, you know, dig, turn that concrete over. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And
So
then what? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm just trying to think this through. So you're talking about if you've got say 8 feet, and then plus the 2 to 3 feet, you're looking at up to 11 feet in
Yeah,
diameter.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, actually, I'm talking about 8 feet from the fire pit out. So it's actually 16 or
right.
more, a 20-foot diameter, right? The
That would be my
concrete.
my entire yard.
Well, okay, but you have to decide. Like, you have to kind of think, like, again,
Hmm.
that you're going to take up that space if you build this pit, and then there's no there's not enough space to sit around it.
Right.
You know,
No.
One, so this is Jay. Honestly, this is why I built the pit first. I wanted to see how we'd use it. Right now, when we use it, the whole family is out there. I need to have a pretty wide. I need to have a pretty wide. Yeah. The other thing I did, instead of doing a square around the fire pit, I did an octagon, so that you're kind of bringing in the sides. So instead of it going all the way out square, that's a lot of area. I kind of, not a circle but an octagon around the fire pit to kind of save a little bit of space. So that might be something you might want to think about as well. An
I'm just
option
trying
there.
to picture the ones that are around me. Like my neighbor that's literally right next door to me, they
Yeah.
have a boat dock on one side of theirs, and then they have the fire pit, which is they've got a bench on the side that's where the water is. So
Hmm.
you literally just have a bench and then it goes to water. And
Hmm.
then on the side that's closest to their house is a just a maybe a half a foot or a foot retaining wall,
Yep.
and it just does a semicircle. And but the semicircle probably only leaves a foot, foot and a half from that wall to the
Ooh.
fire pit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have to. This is one of those things, like the way you use it kind of dictates what you want, how much space you have, right?
I like
To
your idea. I want more space. I
Yeah.
want to be able to have
Yeah.
the chairs
Right.
and have room.
Yes. Yeah.
Be out
Yeah.
there and have a glass of bourbon when you
Right.
come by and visit, and then when you're not here, my kids can be out there with s'mores.
No, right on. That's kind of what we wanted too. I would, this is one of those areas where a little bit of mocking up and a little bit of planning, you could kind of mock up some spaces, say, hey, here's how big my fire pit's going to be. I'm going to lay out. I bought, $3 string, and some $5 nails, and started like putting string, a mock-up of it around it, to be like, okay, does this seem kind of right? And if you're listening to this and you're wondering, like, where's the home gadget in this gadgetry, hang tight. I got some home gadgetry stuff coming. You gotta get the base there first, right? You got to get this fire pit in there. So you got to kind of figure out, I think, mock it up a little bit. And you also kind of need to decide, I think, and this is where, as you're thinking about your fire pit, it doesn't necessarily need to be a permanent one, right? You could go with a, you could just go with some in a 25 4 by 24 block. You could go with a standard $150 fire pit that you buy at any big box store. You just throw the wood in, right? You could go you could go fancy. You could do the same thing and get a solo stove, right? Or get any of those solo stove knockoffs where it sits out there when you're not using it. You put the cover over the top of it and you're not into any infrastructure. You can still level the place out, right? To get it level the way you want it. But it doesn't mean you have to build a rock fire pit to get it done, right? The nice thing about that, one, those solo stoves are super efficient. They're a little expensive, but they're super efficient. They get you great heat, and there's a lot of options with them, right? Recently they've started selling these tops for them, where you put this, it's like think of it like a giant plate. You just put it on top of that, and it reflects the heat kind of out to you. So instead of all that heat going up into the air,
Comes
comes
out to the people
goes up,
sitting
comes
around.
out, right? So yeah, you can kind of feel a little bit of it. So there's kind of an advantage in a solo space too. Those, you get a little more efficiency in those. I'll talk in a second here on how I built my in ground one to be like a solo stove. But you could go that route. There's solo or the knockoffs. I've written some articles about solo stoves at the average guy.tv, but you could go that route as well. And then the nice thing is, it's nice and it's not nice. Every couple of years you replace it. In some regards, right? That gives you a chance to try things new. In others, you're like, I don't know if I want to drop 300 or 400 bucks every couple of years, because they say they last, but if you leave them out there,
Right, they weather.
right? Yeah, they do. They weather pretty. So I think that's another decision to make is, once you got the area cleared out and you got it flat, do you want to build something in, or do you just want to put a pad down and throw a solo stove or whatever on top of it. I know what are you thinking as I present those to you? What are your thoughts?
I like the idea of having the built-in stone one. I want
Okay.
it to look like it was built in to be part of the landscaping, part of the house,
Yeah.
the permanent fixture.
Okay. So that's actually easy. It's easier than you think, right? Again, you can buy one of these kits, these stores buy kits, or the landscaping blocks that you buy, those concrete blocks that you buy, they naturally make a circle.
That's
So
what the
if you're
neighbors
so
have.
yeah. They just they that's what they're kind of designed for, right? So what I like about a metal insert, whether it's 24 or 30 or 36 inches, this metal insert that goes in, what I like about that is it gives you some solo stove options. So you put that down first on your platform, however you decide to do that. I did mine stone concrete. I mean, I'm sorry, yeah. I did mine with concrete. Then actually once it dried, I punched some holes through it so water could, it wouldn't become a swimming pool, right? I just took my drill and
Right.
and we're only talking about an inch to a half to an inch and a half. This isn't a 4-inch concrete slab. This is just enough concrete to get kind of a base that's firm. And then the solo stove concept is this. You have air coming in from the bottom and air coming in from the top. It's not that hard. When you put the concrete blocks around it, you just leave a little space so air can come in through those blocks. As that fire heats up, superheats the air that's coming up the sides, comes up in over the top. There's 1,000 videos on this on how that works. I just punched some holes in the bottom of that metal piece that I bought, and then it kind of creates that solo stove concept where it gets super efficient. Now, again, mine's 36 inches, takes a lot of wood, so think about your size, the size on that. But the concrete block, the only thing that you need to think about is getting when you're gluing those blocks together, just get some glue that's heat rated, right? It's going to get a little warm on the other side.
See
Not tip, not very hard.
what I was thinking, and tell me if I'm anywhere close. I was gonna find the size of the area I want in the yard. I was gonna make it flat, level it out. And if there is going to be a little bit of a lip, it might be half a foot to a foot that I might have to just put a little bit of brick or stone
Yeah.
around it to
Yep. Yep.
just for cosmetics.
Yep. Yep.
So I'll have the flat area, and then I was gonna flatten it down to the dirt. Then I was gonna put a layer of sand down.
You could. Yep. Hmm.
Then I was gonna go ahead and put the metal piece you're referring to, and then put the stone around the metal piece. And then, if my wife wanted for the cosmetics of it again, then put the stone on the sand and build that as our
Yeah.
platform.
Yep. Yeah. So use concrete instead of sand. So put it down like treat it like you would sand. Get a just a regular, you know, uh quick dry, whatever
Right.
you use for fence posts, some of those kinds of things. Because the difference is that sand is going to shift over time. But with that, if you put concrete down first to hold those and then put the blocks in and then spray it down with water, all that stuff will lock in.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually works out pretty well. Depending on how thick you make it, and it will depending on how long it'll last. But that sand, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm just
Well,
not a big fan.
the fire pits that I've seen, and I've not seen a lot, but I've seen
Yeah.
enough. The sand and the stone over it look like the fancier ones.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of concrete being
Yeah.
a more permanent fixture.
Yep.
But a lot of people are just, digging out the dirt,
Yeah. Yeah.
putting rock around it, and
Yep.
calling it a pit.
Yeah. No, you could do that too. Like you could do that too. You can get as fancy or as simple with this thing as you want, right? I knew that I wanted a hard surface underneath it. I've laid enough of those concrete blocks to know that they sit nicely if you can get them in a bed of concrete. And then sometimes I've mixed the concrete in advance. Sometimes I've just put the concrete in and when I'm done, sprayed it down and it locks it in. It's kind of a nice way. The nice way about laying those bricks dry is you can tap them down, get them all nice and straight, get that first layer down the way you like it, then you just take a misting, take your hose, just mist it down for,
See, now you're
a
making me
half an
think.
hour. Oh.
So, what about the idea of the built-in bench style seating versus chairs or the half and half?
Yeah, I'm going to do both. So the hillside is going to have bench seats that if you're just out there and you just want to sit on them, that's fine. But it's going to be wide enough that I can bring chairs in if I want to as well.
So that would be huge
It's pretty. What's 8 feet? 8 feet. I mean, it's 8 feet from
from
the
the edge
fire
of the
pit.
pit.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty good size.
See, if I was thinking like that, I would think that you would have the built-in seating as a horseshoe or on the one side, say the house side, and then leave it open on the water side
Yeah,
and have a
yeah.
couple Adirondack chairs out there
Yep.
for
You
that.
could do it that way too. You could mix and match. It depends on your. It totally depends on what you want, what you're looking for. There's no right way. The right way is the way you want to do it, right? But yeah, that would lend itself some built-in seating on
Tell
the
that to my
hillside.
wife.
Built-in seating on one side, chairs on the other. You get the best of both worlds then at that point. One of the things you want to think about, though, from a tech perspective, right, on this, do you want power out there?
I wasn't thinking about it, but if now that you're mentioning it, I could see the benefit of having it.
Yeah, uh, sure. Sometimes, I mean, lighting in particular. What else do you think? I always think of putting some low voltage power or even Christmas lights.
Right.
Those right. You can plug those in super cheap to be able to get that kind of stuff. But it's a consideration. The other consideration is a little bit of solar. So you're in a part of the country, it doesn't freeze as much as it does here. You could have a battery that runs these lights, right? That's out there in a little solar panel. And so instead of having to run wires,
Let me tell
because
you what we
think,
have out there now.
yeah, yeah,
We have the patio out sliding door. You have a patio, maybe 10 by 10, 12 by 12. And then directly above it, we have the deck. So
hmm
you come out a slider on the top level and you get a deck. So if you're on the patio along the bottom, you have those Edison style bulbs that hang down.
hmm
On the top along the railing are more of what your Christmas style that you're
yeah,
talking about, but
Christmas
they're
style light, yeah,
LEDs.
right, right,
Then they go around the banner, they kind of swirl around the banner. And then we also have a, a wall, just a decorative wall to kind of separate from the utilities type stuff. And that has the growth, leaves growing up it, whatever
hmm
that, I
hmm
don't know exactly what
hmm
kind of leaves are on it, but it's
yeah,
growth. And my wife has got lights in there that trickle down throughout, and those are solar. So the Edison bulbs and the LEDs plug in, and the lights and the leaves are solar.
hmm yeah. So you could, I mean, just a decision to make on like, do I want to put a little solar panel out by the fire pit that runs the lights out here, or do I want to run do I want to snake in because this is something you want to put in before you build all this stuff, right?
Right.
You want to like, hey, where's the power? I'm going to need to run some conduit. I'm going to bring it up in a certain spot, and that's going to be where the lights are going to generate from. And then, yeah, maybe even a switch on them so you can turn those on and off as you go. The other thing to think about, Jay, on this is, and these have gotten super popular over the last couple of years. It's just those individual lights that you just put in the ground. They got a solar panel on the
Right.
top.
We
I've
have
only
those
found they
too.
last a couple years, right? I've only
Yep.
found those last a couple years. But that's another way of getting easy lighting around, kind of around this thing to make it work. So you get if you're going to run cable or wire, that's the decision you want to make early because you want to run that conduit before you want to
Put it
have that
on.
in and up, yeah,
Right.
before you do too much work.
No, it's
So
in an area which that would make sense in my house because it's on the side of the power and we could do that. And then I
yeah,
think to myself too, are we overthinking that? I mean, the whole point of having the pit is to go out there with a beer and not have, you know,
Yeah, but
power other
the
than lights. I'll say the lights would be nice
lights,
ambiance,
they
but
are nice
I could picture my
ambiance.
kids wanting to plug in the iPad, and next thing you know, we're out there and we got technology going.
Yeah, which isn't bad.
It's
It's
not
not
bad if
bad.
I'm by myself. I'll
It's
tell you
not bad.
a side note. You want to take a tangent real quick? I went outside the other day. I forget what. My kid needed something. It was during the day, and I work from home most of the time. So I went out to the patio, and my wife was walking with the kid outside, and they left. I'm like, I'm just going to stay here. I just got my laptop, and I stayed on the patio and sat there and worked
Yeah.
for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I was like, this is awesome. I'll just do this. Like you said, the weather's been beautiful. So,
Yeah. No, it's in the spring. This is when you start thinking about like, oh, and then it gets the bugs come out, right? In a couple
and
weeks,
then the
right?
heat.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thought about running power. And I didn't realize this till I started doing this on my deck, but I bought this TV for the
Yes.
deck. And if you do your seating right, you could have a TV mount. You don't keep the TV out there full
Right.
time. It's just a TV mount. And so you run power out to it. And can your Wi-Fi reach that far out there into the fire pit, do you think?
I would say
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
for sure.
So
Absolutely.
it's $150 to get a 32-inch TV out
Right.
there that you can just bring out to the fire pit. You want to get it far enough away. It's heat and some of those kinds of
Right.
things. But how nice is that to have the TV
Well,
on, sports, whatever you enjoy.
well, I could picture that. And that's what I was thinking when you first mentioned power. I was like, oh, there's that TV idea.
Yeah.
Because I can think of multiple purposes, right? So you sit in there, you got chairs facing the water, so you get your fire pit. On the other side of the fire pit, like on the water side, you could have a pole, a mount, and put the TV on it. And like you said, you watch a game or you do something like that out there. You can watch my Bruins disappoint me, make me cry. But yeah, so you can sit out there
Yeah.
and
Uh,
watch a bad game. And then my kids, if they have their friends over or sleep over or whatever, you just put a movie up there for them.
right. Right.
So they can be
Yeah.
out there with s'mores and a movie.
Yeah. No, I mean it's surprisingly easy now to get a TV out there. They're light. You
I
buy a
really like that idea, Jim.
yeah, you buy a universal mount. They're all the same, and they're cheap on Amazon. And this is what I did. I put a mount on the deck. It just stays out there. My TV doubles as my treadmill TV. So when I'm rarely on the deck and on the treadmill at the same time. So like,
I'm really on the treadmill.
that's true as well. But that's where it sits. Same mount. I can just lift it off one. I don't permanently mount. I just
Right.
lift it off one, take it out to the deck, put it on. Plug. There's a plug right there that I mounted. Plug it right in. It's Wi-Fi enabled. It picks up, whatever I have. I use channels, and I can watch, football on the weekends or whatever.
Hmm.
One of the other considerations to think too, if you're going to run power out there, is speakers. Right, you might want to think through, and you got a couple options. You could there's a lot of great outdoor speakers, or you can pick up a pair of Bluetooth enabled, Bose or whatever, fill in the blank. That would give you, so either you're taking it out there with you each time, because the TV speaker is not going to be good enough, and sometimes you want music, or you're carrying it out with you each time. So I think that's kind of a decision you have to make. Many people take out. I mean, I have that little Bose. I
Right.
forget the model on that thing that works out pretty well.
That's what we
But
have.
that's another consideration, right?
Yeah, I definitely have the Bluetooth speakers already. So
Okay.
that's good, and they're really nice ones. I mean, they're definitely powerful enough to
Yeah.
fill it up outside. But yeah, no, I'm really liking the idea of the TV and the mount.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you've got the concrete or the that you're talking about, the cement, you can fix a mount right in it.
Yeah.
So
You could. Yeah. Yeah. You could. I wouldn't. I like to use the concrete around the fire pit only. I don't try to make it the whole platform. The
so
rest of the platform I use just for the concrete is really for the fire pit, the base of the
the
fire pit and the
3 foot
block.
diameter pit.
Yeah. 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 What you may want to think about, and this has been kind of cool. is to put a pole up, and they now have, a lot of people would just dig a hole, put a post in it, put concrete in it. But they got some really cool foam options now for $10, $12. You could pick up a foam, you break it, you rub it over your leg to mix it up, you pour it in. I actually did the front yard this way with our a railing that goes down, and I actually liked it better than the concrete. You know why I like it? Because you can cut it off at the ground level because it comes up.
Right.
You can cut it off at the ground level, and or cut it below the ground level, throw a little bit of dirt on top of it, and never even see it.
I like that idea too.
Yeah, yeah, and
I,
it's
I mean,
ready. It's ready in like an hour.
I was
You
just
know,
thinking about like putting in a new mailbox or something. You could just
yeah,
use something like that.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. Super cool tech that
Hmm.
allows you to, and it, regardless of the hole that concrete's heavy, right? And if I have to mix it, now you can do the post thing with the concrete too, where you just pour it in, put
Right.
water in, it does just fine, right? You can do it that way as well. But you think about your seating then, and you're thinking, okay, I need to think about where I'm going to run power. Probably want to bring power up where the TV is going to be. And then I want the TV to be in the optimal place for where maybe we have the chairs, or maybe where you have the other seating or whatever, right? But think through that in advance. So because that's the first thing you run is the power
Well,
out there, and then start moving stuff around.
I think that would be an easy decision because the water is the view, it's the focal point,
Mhm.
and the mount for the TV would go right in that smack dab where the water is. So you never change your focal point. You're either
Right.
out there to sit around and look at water, or you're out there to watch a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that
One
would
of the
make perfect
things
sense.
I would one of the things I might do is mock that up as well. Get an extension cord, plug it into the deck or wherever. Bring a TV out there, mock it up in some places at the time of the day you think you're going to be out there, and say, okay, is this, because you never know, like, am I going to get a glare off this? Is it
Right.
going to block that? Is this really going to work in the play? It'll look silly. Trust me, it'll look silly, but
My
kind of
neighbors will
mock it
love
up
me.
first. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you're just trying it for a night or two or an afternoon or whatever. I put mine, first I started thinking about it. It was in a sunny spot, and during the afternoon when I want to watch football, I couldn't see the TV, and so I needed it to be in a shady spot. Now the TV is still pretty bright, but I wanted it to be in a shadier spot so I could see it better.
I think if I was looking at the water, the sun it comes up and down on the two sides. So it would
Right.
be on the side of the TV.
Yeah, well, again, it's something, just try it before you kind of make a decision on, like, because the reflection coming off the water, or is there, whatever, right? I don't know your conditions,
Next, though, we're
but be good to
building a
try.
canopy. We've got
Well,
everything.
yeah, well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned a canopy. I just saw Menards was running a sale on a 10 by 10 canopy that you can set up pretty easily, bolt down to the deck, and it could be a cover for it. I mean, realistically, are you going to be out there when it's raining? I
No,
don't know. Are you? Yeah. Well, and of course you got a fire going, so you have to account for that, right? Kind of deal. But
you
um,
might get the
it
occasional snowfall where that might be nice, but
yeah, yeah. Well, then just put a jacket on. But the I do like the TV option. I don't know. We got a few folks in chat tonight. What other tech gadgets would you guys be thinking of if we think about out on the deck, some of those kinds of things that might benefit as we think from a technology perspective? Jay, throw those in chat. We'll bring them in here in just a second.
yeah, please give
Um,
me as many ideas as you can because this is going to be a, a pretty hefty project. But I mean, for me, it's going to be a pretty hefty project, but I want to knock it out at the beginning of the season here.
right, right. Yeah, and you've got it. Listen, the moving the dirt is probably the hardest part. After that, everything goes pretty fast. I mean, I once I dug my fire pit in, got the base down, the rest of it's, you're done in an hour or two.
Yeah.
and so it goes pretty fast. One of the other things I would consider on this, do you have a camera in your backyard that is watching over that area or no?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I could put
I
one
have a
in, but
camera. I have a camera on my back deck. One of the things I didn't realize is just how many alerts I'm going to get while I was out there. So, kids coming in and out, you're out on the deck all the time. Just a consideration for that. Brian says outdoor lighting, string lights connected to a smart outdoor outlet. Okay, Brian, great suggestion. Jay, one of the things I've done for the shed, so I ran power out to the shed, but I don't want it running all the time. They do make really cool now. An Energizer, the battery company,
right.
actually makes this Wi-Fi enabled outdoor plug. So you can, as you're thinking about, okay, how do I want to power this thing? Do I want it to be on a switch? Now, for me, when I'm in the shed, I want to be able to turn that power on and off from my phone. Like I can literally just in the shed turn it on, turn it off from my phone. That's a nice it's a nice feature to be able to control that. You might want to think through, like, as I'm powering this, do I want a physical switch? Do I want it to be smart? If it's going to be smart, it's going to be outside. You'll have a little extra expense on that. I don't know. Any thoughts around that?
Well, as you're talking about it, I'm thinking about it. The everything I would need would be on that side of the house, so I think I'm in good shape there. And I think if I run a conduit out to that area, like you said ahead of time, I think I'd be in good shape as well. And I like the idea of being able to flick on the lights from inside the house.
Okay.
So if my wife's in the kitchen or if we're down in that area, just hit the switch, lights are on outside. But I do also like the idea of putting them on some sort of smart outlet where you can do it from your phone too. So if you are out at the pit, it gets dark and you forgot you don't have the lights on yet, or maybe even a timer.
Yeah, a time with a smart switch. Alex says, do a smart switch relay in an outdoor enclosure. You can get a uh, big plastic enclosure for power, and then your smart switches in there. One of the nice things about that, are you a Google or Amazon voice
Yes, we have
family at all?
one of each,
Okay.
but the biggest one in the house is the Amazon one.
Yeah. So go with if you went with a smart switch instead of having to wire a switch in the house or figure that out, the fire pit could be voice enabled. Hey, lady, turn
Right.
on the fire pit, right? Turn off the fire pit, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that would
pretty
be
cool,
funny.
right?
I never
uh,
thought having a fire pit would have so many decisions to have.
well, I
And
mean, listen, you can throw some rocks on the ground and throw some wood in there and fire it up. You can do that. You don't
yeah,
have to.
I wanted to
Yeah.
look nice because
Right. Right.
yeah, I want it to be part of the property. I mean, we bought the house and we went through the effort of trying to find a nice house. I want it to be a nice area. I've been looking for pictures here. I think I found something similar
Oh,
to what I want.
okay. Share that. Go ahead and share that on the screen, and we'll audio folks. Sorry about that. You can check us out at youtube.com/Jim Collison. I think we'll get you to the video on this one if you want. But
But the big image there that's selected is kind of what I was thinking about. But instead of having those big tiles as the ground, it would be sand and then kind of like a brick tile.
yeah, yeah, you could do that. You could do that. That would see to me this, like, if we're looking at the picture all the way to the right. The permanent seating on the right side is a little close for me. Like, you get a fire going, you, it- you know. Again, this is where you almost want to. I know I told you not to do this, but you almost want to build the pit first, so you get a feel of, like, how does this thing heat up? How am I going to use this thing? What's it going to look like? And then put the landscaping in around it once you know the kind of how it acts, right?
I can't imagine anybody sitting on that permanent seating for a long period of time.
It seems a little close, doesn't it?
It seems close and it seems hard, and
Yeah,
there's nothing to lean back
right.
on.
Right. Right.
So,
Well,
and if you think about it, where those chairs are, which be the water side,
right.
which would then be where the TV would be. So you'd have to have some room for chairs.
Yeah. You see, you're working through the use case scenario, which is why I like using it first and then building around the use case, right? Of like, here's how this is really going to work for me. The in the picture that we're looking at, the seating is really a fence. It's not a, yeah, you could sit on it. In some cases, it would make for good, hey, you're having a party, people aren't getting, they're kind of moving around, they're not sitting there for long lengths of
Place to put a
time.
drink, almost like a
Yeah,
table.
yeah, yeah. No, no, right on. But you definitely, I like the size of that fire pit, right? It's probably 24-inch, I would imagine, maybe a 30, if we're
This is
looking at it.
the type of
Yeah.
stone I was thinking about using.
Yep.
With
Yep. Yep. And that's super easy. It's like Legos, I like to glue those things together. I don't like to just use the gravity on them. I like to glue them, and you need to get a kind of heat heat rated glue to get it done. Doesn't have to be a lot, but just get one that can withstand some heats on that, and then you can kind of glue them together. They stick. But one of the things, Jay, is we're looking at this fire pit here, and if you got a metal ring on the inside, then you just need to make sure you're given an inch or two of space between the block and the metal so that air can kind of come up. And then I put an additional lip on the top of it that went up over the metal ring on the inside to kind of create that airflow. So you get that secondary burn on it
hmm.
in there. But that is certainly a good way. Those kinds of bricks. I just would like a metal insert. You could do it this way where it's just brick. I like
No,
a metal
no,
insert
I
in the
definitely
brick.
want the metal insert.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
And
think
not one of those, they have these metal inserts that just go across the top and they only go down about an inch. No, I'm talking like a full metal insert into it.
no, absolutely. I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was
That's what
one
I
that
that's what I prefer.
don't mean to make anybody dizzy here, but I
Yeah.
think at the top of this,
No.
those,
Joe, yes, Joe. Yeah, feed bins. The round horse, you would put them out and
yeah.
throw feed in them, and the horses, yes, those kinds of things.
You
Yeah.
know what? And being in Kentucky, that shouldn't be hard to come by.
Should not be. No, you should be. Um,
Like
yeah,
this one.
Joe says there's a cool trend now where they build outdoor patios based off those old feed bins and silos. Yeah, that's what I really want to do. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That one that you're showing right now, I don't know if that metal, I think that's just a metal
Yeah.
ring around the top.
That one doesn't
And
look like the
right.
right one, but
Yeah. 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 Fire pits are big business right now. There's a lot of options for folks in there, and a lot of decisions. Yeah. Again, you got to kind of think through, like, do I want to build a fire pit first and see how it performs and then build the stuff around it? Because some of that stuff's pretty permanent, you know?
well, I
Some
guess
good.
the biggest question is the electricity part because that has to be decided up front.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'd mock it up a little bit and try some things. Your neighbors will think you're crazy, but mock it up a little. When I was
They
putting
already
the
think that.
landscaping in, it's even mine too. When I was putting the landscaping, we put the fire pit in first, and then I was using string to kind of mock up where I thought the retaining walls would be. It made a little pentagram. My kids came over and like, Dad, are you?
Do we
What's
need?
going on out there?
You need to talk.
What's going on out there? Are you sacrificing things? And I was like, no, it's just because it's an octagon and that's the way it looks. So just
Just a
chill out.
goat.
Just yeah, chickens. But it gave me a good feel for the other thing that mocking it up with string will do for you is give you some sight lines. So stand at the back door. So run some string lines out of what you think it'll look like, and then go to the back door and say, how does this look from here? Does it look straight? Is it in the right place? Is it is it centered on the things it should be centered on, so to speak, right? Is it taking advantage of natural pathways, right? I think those are all questions you want to ask yourself of how are people going to get out to this thing? How are they going to walk out there? Is it going to be, for the last 2 years, it's been in grass. And, after a rainstorm, you don't really want to be out in the grass, even though it might be a nice day. It's wet. The
Right.
chairs sink into the grass, right? Kind of thing. Certainly we wore a path before we didn't take the railing off the deck. I'm actually taking railing off the deck, and then I'm going to build some stairs down into mine. So the
That's a
natural
great look
path
too.
will be come out the door, walk down the deck, walk off the steps, go in. You're in wood chips, that right. You're not walking on grass. You don't have to worry about muddy, muddy shoes and some of those kinds of things. So that mock-up will give you an opportunity to look at it for a while. And for me, I mocked it up for a week, and every day I looked at it like, okay, am I sure this is what I wanted to do?
Well, I
Yeah.
think you made a really good point about size, and I didn't think about that. That with our yard, it's a good sized yard, but it's not huge because we back up to the water, we get half the yard that everybody else does. And it's nice because of the water, but it's also, like I said, we lose the size of the yard. So I think if I put
Right,
a
right.
slightly smaller one in there, that would be a better option, and it would give more room for chairs. And
Yeah.
then I did think about the pathway like you're talking about, and if we put some sort of walkway, or you could put the stones. I mean, there's some options there.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
might work out. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like the idea of the TV, having the electricity, having a TV out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's kind of nice.
well, it's better
It's
than
kind of
sitting
nice.
inside to watch a game, right?
Yeah. Well, it gives you another option, right?
Yeah,
And it also doesn't mean you have to have the fire pit on.
right. Well, that's
You
what I
don't
was
have to
thinking.
be.
Just
Yeah.
if you're outside watching the game, you
Right.
just get a place to watch it.
Right. Right. Yeah. You get a
Hmm.
good. Um.
My wife's
Yeah.
gonna hate
Yeah.
you. Just,
It's
just
not.
telling you that now.
It's not that much more expensive to throw a TV out there.
No, no, not at
They're
all.
pretty inexpensive, and they're light, and you just carry when you don't want it, like, it doesn't have to, certainly it's not going to live out there. So when you're done in the evenings, whatever, you pick it up, unplug it, pick it up, take it in, set it in the
Bring
garage
it
or
back to the
whatever.
kids' room.
Exactly. Yeah,
Use their
exactly.
TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope that gives you some ideas. I know that's maybe a little different format for Home Gadget Geeks, but you're doing that. You're thinking about it. I had just done that, and I've been kind of thinking through all the tech stuff that I needed to really make that. I mean, you can add just a little bit of tech to that thing. One of the cool things, just to think about this, is Bose has got these speakers that look like rocks, and they're
Right.
designed to be outside all the time, and they're Bluetooth enabled. And so rather having to figure out, like,
I
oh, I got
like
to go
that.
grab this
My
speaker
wife
and
would
bring it
much
out here.
rather have that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are,
I mean,
those are
as
options
easy as
too.
possible for her. She's not going to carry out
Right.
speakers. You
Right.
know, she'll just want to go out there and sit.
Yeah. The more stuff you got to take out the less you'll use it. The more it's available, like, I'm just going to go out and connect to this thing. If you're already running power, like, I mean, there could be some options for you. And then I don't underestimate the lighting on this thing. In even
Well,
just mood lighting, right? Of just marking out the paths or marking out the perimeter of it adds so much to just the ambiance of being out there,
I
you know?
think that's what we'd have to do. Like you were saying, either run a line or those ones with the solar tops to go along the pathways or to go around the thing. But there'd be nothing of height. You wouldn't be able to have any lights
Right.
unless you put a pole, but you wouldn't have
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
lights in the air. They'd all have to be on the ground.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
like the idea of the stones, the Bluetooth stones, the
Yeah.
Bose stones.
Little
That
Bose, and
that would be
there's
much
off
better.
brands. Yeah, no, they're just out there. They're available.
Right.
They're rated for weather.
And it
They're
would
just
look better than
available.
carrying a Bluetooth brick outside.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's one of those things, like, do you want to? I mean, some people do. I've got one that I use. I think it's charging over, on the other side, but we put it on the deck. I'll connect it to the TV. I'll take it to the shed. There's multiple spots where I want to move that thing around to. So that works well for me. But, and again, it's your
Right,
decision on
but
how
we
you want to
have
do this.
one if we want to do that.
Yeah.
But like for
Yeah.
me, right now, the only time I ever sit on the patio at all, I'll force myself to do it. And I'll go out there and I'll sit and I'll put my earbuds in, I'll listen to a podcast or something and just sit there. And I enjoy it. But if there's a fire pit out there with the stones that already have the Bluetooth speakers, I'm already in my backyard, I don't have to go in and grab something.
Right.
Just sit down, put my phone on, enjoy a few minutes outside, you know, take a work call or whatever I want to do. And I think that's a really good opportunity,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah, yeah.
working from home, having options of different places to sit,
Yeah.
especially this summer when the kids are out of school. I'm lucky enough to have an
Right.
office that I'm sitting in here.
Right.
Um, so I'm lucky enough to have that. So I'm away from the family. But having another place like the fire pit area or the patio, they're just different options.
Mhm. Yeah, kinda gives you that. Brian says, "You guys are giving me some good ideas for my patio." Yeah. Yeah, I think there's those this is where these little tech things can add so much value. I mean, when I bought that Energizer, I bought it at Menards, it was 15 bucks. It may have been 10. And it's just a plugs in and then it's got 2 power outlets on it, and it's just Wi-Fi enabled. And I can be in the shed and turn the power on and off. I just run an extension cord out to the shed. And it's convenient. Like, it makes it I use it more because it's more convenient. And then Alex says you can hook the outdoor speakers to an amp that's connected to an AirPlay or Chromecast audio, and then you can stream to them as well. So your TV, you can also have your TV come out of those
I like that.
speakers. Yeah, yeah, that makes for a handy.
Huh.
Listen, when we're on the deck and I'm enjoying a bourbon and we got a cigar and we got a little Cuban music playing out of the speakers, it takes you to another place.
And
Kind of
it's
takes you to.
important to me to have the fire pit because I want wood. Right now we've got propane, it's not the same.
Yeah, yeah.
You have the fire, you have the ambiance and stuff, it's nice. But I want the smell of the wood and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so one more thing to think about on this, and it's not what you think it is, but wood storage then has to be a consideration. Where are you going to stack this stuff? Like, and you don't want it too far from the fire pit because you don't want to have to walk to the other side of the house, the other side of the yard. How are you going to do this, right? And there's some options where you could have some you could have a really nice metal, like a wood storage unit that you just keep that stocked all the time, and that'll be like one fire basically, and you just fill that up and you keep the other wood on the other side of the yard or whatever, right? However you do that. That's one way of doing it. Or making sure that the path to the wood is convenient, right? If it's gonna be in some place, make sure that there's no obstructions between. It's gonna be dark in some cases, right? You you don't want to be going into the dark to get wood, right?
Well, I've
You know.
seen those that look kind of like a bookshelf. They're black wrought iron, look like a
Yeah.
bookshelf you
Yep.
stack up. So I've seen those that you could just put next to the pit. But I don't want it to take up any of the unless
Yeah.
it looks nice. It might look nice and be part of it. Or maybe even build something in to that retaining wall that has storage in it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. You
But
could. Oh, I never thought of that. That'd be a cool little
right,
underneath the bench would be some storage for wood.
right, maybe on the
Ooh, that's
two
kind of
ends of the
cool.
horseshoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Now
like
you're
that.
thinking.
So
Now you're
maybe
thinking.
you get enough to have one fire on each end, so you get two out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And then you
And
just refill them as you.
right, and up at
Yeah.
the back side of the house, there's plenty of room to put one of those metal boxes where you can store some wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
One of the things to
these
think
are things
about,
I
though.
haven't been thinking about.
Yeah. Wherever you're keeping your wood, make sure it's got a light that you either have easy access to find, or comes on when you go out there to get it. Because there's nothing worse than, it's late. You've had a few bourbons. You're trying to get more wood. You're stumbling around. You can't see anything. You jam your hand to get some wood, and you
Oh,
come out with a handful of splinters. Right.
man.
So like, trust me, you make sure that area is well lit, and it comes on. This is where, it comes on when you show up. You don't want that light on all the time, but when you show up in that space, you want that light to come on so you can easily get to the wood. Safety.
I'm
Safety.
trying to envision it. And my patio has that little leaf partition thing that blocks off the utilities.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
that utility area is plenty of room to put some sort of wood storage. And it's all
Yeah.
covered, so it wouldn't be an eyesore of any sort.
Good. Yep. Yep.
So,
Joe makes a good point. Depending upon what part of your country, and you're in this part of the country, spiders, right?
yep.
Some of the, just make sure you're doing whatever. Some people are against spraying, but you're doing whatever you need to do to make sure you're not getting a handful of spiders when you're going in there to to pull. Trust me, I pulled wood off the wood pile in a in a half sober state, and it's never good if you get a handful of something in
Yeah,
there.
you say that now, and my wife will never go get wood. I'll be the one to get it at all times.
Yeah, yeah, Jay, can you go get some wood? I think
Can
we're
you get some
running
more wood? We're a
we're
little
running
low.
low. My oldest is kind of a pyro, and he builds the fires. So I literally, when he's over here, he just keeps the thing stocked, and so I never have to kind of worry about that, worry about that piece. So
Well, that's a good point too. With the being the wood instead of the propane, how are you lighting them?
yeah, so I've actually have gone to fire starter products, whatever those. You can get them at Menards, or you can get them at any of the big box stores, and they're just, and you can buy these from people. They're just, whatever, like wood chips that are put together with some kind of flammable product. You put it in the middle, just light it and go. It Starting a fire with paper is the dirtiest. I mean, you can do it, but the paper just floats all over the place, and I just find getting a fire starter, you can buy them, they're available commercially,
Yeah,
as
we
well,
used
just
to
a
use
little
them.
cleaner. Yeah. My neighbor brought me some lemongrass from she had planted last year, and it had, over the winter, dries out. She cut it at the stalk, rolled it up for me, and then gave it to me. She gave me 3 of these bundles. She goes, "This is really good fire starter." I was like, "Thanks.
Thank you.
This is awesome. This is awesome." I said, "Does it smell good?" She goes, "No, it just smells like fire." But you can, I'd recommend getting some kind of fire starter from a, wood product or something along
Yeah,
those
no, I
lines to
like
get
that
those.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, me not knowing anything, I'd be out there with gas pouring it on there and saying that should
Yeah,
do
no,
it.
you don't want to do that for sure. When I was younger, I did that one time, and I thought the embers were all out, and I poured gas. They weren't all out. Whoosh! I just about burned the house down. So it was not
Man,
very smart. Well, Jay, I think, boy, that's a quick hour, and some change, but I think we've got you all set on your fire pit, and some gadgets to kind of go along. And I hear you have a new guitar. Maybe you'll be playing out there, by the
I
fire
will
pit.
not, but my
Maybe.
daughter will.
Yeah.
If
Did
you,
you win a new guitar?
my daughter did. We went to a convention a couple weeks ago, a real large convention, and in the background there's a guitar. It's a Stratocaster sitting on that chair. Um, so it's nice. It's really nice. And she won it. She scanned a QR code, one of like hundreds of thousands of people, and she was insisting that she was going to win, and she did. I don't
She
know how
did.
she does it, but
so,
she did it.
so you have a guitar.
Literally, I
Well,
mean,
you're in the
she
right
got
part
a
of the
text
country for
message
it.
saying you won, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see what happens. And then it says, what's your address? And I'm like, I was hesitant, but I gave the address, and next thing you know,
Uh,
boom, here's your guitar.
that's cool.
So, but it's
That's cool.
a beautiful Stratocaster. I mean, it's nice. I don't, it's right-handed. I play left-handed, so it's not going to do me any good. But
What are you going to do with it?
she's going to play it.
Oh,
She's
okay.
what's sad is we just bought her a Stratocaster, the identical one, but it's teal green. That's her favorite color, teal
Okay.
green
Okay.
blue. But she's got that, and that's what she's playing. And I didn't know these were real things, but she's going to the School of Rock. You know, the movie with
Yeah. Yeah. Jack Black.
Jack Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually have those, and there's one here in Northern Kentucky, and she's going to go to it. And she went down and got her first free lesson. And what they do is they give you one lesson a week and then two band practices.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. See a bunch of
That is
kids in
cool.
there playing rock
Rocking
songs and
out.
stuff.
Well, that's cool.
And her
That's cool.
favorite band is Arctic Monkeys. So
I never heard of them.
yeah, I never heard of them either, but they're a pop rockish type band, and they're not that bad. For her to pick that as her band, I can get with that because
Yeah.
it's hard enough for me. I'm into
Hmm.
hard rock music.
How old is she?
She's 13, just
Okay.
turned
Yeah.
13.
Perfect. Perfect age.
Yeah,
Yeah. Perfect age for that. Well, that's
and
cool.
she plays saxophone now. One of my connections in the music industry sells instruments, and I asked him if he could find us a saxophone. He sent one over to us, and so
Wow.
we got it a really good deal. And she's been playing saxophone for the past couple of years. And I didn't realize this, but when she went to take her guitar lesson, they came out to me and told me how impressed they were because she could already read music.
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
never
Yeah.
never even thought about that, but she
Yeah.
was reading music
Yeah.
and she was
Good for
playing
her.
Arctic Monkeys on her first lesson. So good for her.
Well, you never know. You never know. You have to. You might be visiting her in Nashville at some point in time. You know,
Yeah.
and it's a tough town. It's a tough town for
So
music.
I worked there for 20 years, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is tough. And what's funny is they always say, "Oh, you're an overnight success." It's like, no, I've been playing the same bar for 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but no, I mean, I've been lucky enough to work with some of the best in the industry in Nashville, and she's lucky now, and she doesn't realize she's lucky because she thinks that
Yeah.
just everybody knows this, right? Everybody's dad is friends with this person.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
if I do get lucky enough to have somebody on the phone or on a Zoom call or something like this, she can ask questions and she gets these little
Hmm.
tips and tricks from all these people.
Yeah. Nice. Now, well, you just gotta work the angles that you have available to you, right? So we'll see. We'll see how. Well, Jay, I will expect you're in the regular rotation, so I will expect in the fall when I have you back on, we need to see some fire pit pictures
Yes.
and
And I
and it
will come back with photos and I will explain what technology was put into it.
yeah
Because until you told me that, Jim, I never thought of putting technology into my fire pit.
yeah yeah most people
So,
don't. There's
hey,
lots of good stuff. Yeah, lots of good stuff to get it done, and you can overdo it too, but why not? I mean, everything that can be done should be overdone. So
I will overdo it. I will over because I'm that guy.
yeah,
But and
yeah,
Jim,
yeah.
you're I know we're wrapping up, but I'll make
Yeah.
this quick.
No
I
worries.
know you're a monitor guy,
Yeah, for sure.
and I've done it again. I've added another monitor to my system.
Yes. Yes. So how many do you have?
I have four currently.
Nice. Nice.
Two in front of me and one above me is the
Mhm.
TV.
Mhm.
So I was using just one in the TV because the two were interfering with the audio monitors.
Mhm.
But I got a double mount that is screwed in and fixed to my desk now
Mhm. For the monitors. Double mount for the
for the
monitors.
monitors.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And what that has done is that's relieved the desk space that was being taken up by because the monitor
Yeah.
stands were big.
Yeah. Yeah. They're big. Yeah.
So by fixing this mount to the desk, and I have two movable arms, like scissor arms, kind of like our mic stands. So it allows me to put the monitors back,
Yeah.
which now takes them out of my audio field. And when I'm mixing music, I can fold the monitors in and I can even dip them down out of the way
Nice.
completely.
Yeah.
But what it has done that I'm finding workarounds for now is I used to have, because I had only the one monitor in front of me, I had the camera above the monitor so I could
Right.
look at the camera, see you, everything's fine.
Right. Right.
But now the camera's in between the two monitors. So if I'm
Right.
looking at you, I'm kind of looking like this.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So what I did was I bought a camera mount
Hmm.
because I had no way of putting it on a monitor anymore.
Right. Right.
So I bought a camera mount that, again, screws onto the desk. It's
Uh-huh.
just a pole sticking up.
Yep.
You can put any camera you want,
Fixed
mirrorless,
pole,
web.
or is it one of those flexible ones that you can
It,
kind of move around?
it's fixed in the fact that it's only straight,
Okay. Okay.
but
Got it.
it's movable and it goes up like a mic stand would do, and
Right.
it swivels side to side,
Got
but
it.
it doesn't
Got it.
swivel forward and back.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
So that's that's what I have going on. But I didn't think of the fact that now I'm looking off. If I look at a screen,
Yep.
my head is
Yeah.
not straight on anymore.
Yeah, it's with, and I catch myself doing this all the time. I got chat over here, and so when I'm doing Saturday morning Ask the Podcast Coach with
Right.
Dave, and I'm looking over here. It's very obvious. I mean, you can't get it all in one space. You can't be looking at the camera all the time,
No,
Jay.
I mean, for me to see the chat tonight, normally when it's my show, I have the windows on my left monitor. So that way my chat is right next to the camera.
Right, right,
Tonight,
right,
because you're on the left side and I want to be able to see you, I moved you to the other screen. So you're on the right
right,
screen.
right,
But then now that puts the chat on the
right.
far right. So for me to read the
Yeah.
chat, I'm way over here.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
you
It
gotta
it is a problem. It's a give and take.
yeah.
It is a problem with having that much real estate to do, things with. And it's surprising, 34-inch ultra wide here, but the chat is in the middle. I'm looking off screen, and it's just, it is what it is, right? I mean,
It
just
and
you're making some choices. You can't look at the screen all the time.
it to me that hasn't bothered me. Like if I'm doing when I do my show, I'm more concerned about what the audio is going to be like.
Right, right,
So I'm
right.
not worried about it. But the only problem with that is if you're my guest, I want to look at you when we're
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the hard part because
yeah, yeah,
if I'm looking at you, I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
No, yeah.
I
Well, I
also
put.
put the
Go ahead.
sorry, I also put the lights on a mount. So
Yes.
now I've got
Yep.
like four mounting systems on my desk. It's freed up
Yeah.
all the space.
Yeah. No, it's kind of nice to get that. And I actually put my speakers. I did the same thing, except I put the speakers just under. I lifted the monitors high enough that I could bring my bookshelf. Is that what they call them? Speakers. I could put
Oh
them
yeah,
right underneath the monitors, and so they're unobstructed. And I got one. I have one right in front of me and one off to the right. I'm not doing anything that requires it to be exactly stereo for whatever I'm doing, but I've got one facing directly at me, and then I got one coming from the right, and it works perfectly. Actually, for this setting, I never have the speakers because I'm using earbuds, so
right.
it doesn't matter. The speakers are more optimized for the YouTube and for the TV and the YouTube that I run through it as well. So
I
lots of
do
good
have.
options. I like it, Jay. I'm proud of you for buying another monitor. Nice job.
Well, I used to have the two monitors, so I had the monitor
Mhm.
here. Matter of fact, I have
Mhm.
three of them. I'm letting my wife use the other one. So, but I have the audio monitors, which are perfectly laser beamed out and all that stuff. So it
Yeah,
sounds really
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I don't want
Right.
to obstruct them. But now by getting everything off the desk, I've got the mixing console here in front of me, which
Yeah.
is nice rather than having that off
Yeah.
to a side.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. Getting that stuff kind of optimized for your own workflow. There's
Yep.
no
Well,
perfect
that's what it
workflow
is.
except the one that works for you, right?
That's
And
exactly
and
the point.
yeah, yeah, getting that also. I mean, I'd love to have. I've got a Surface Pro and another monitor here that just runs my weather station, and I like to watch the weather all the time. And
You
most
are a
people are
weather
like,
guy, aren't you?
"Yeah, I am a weather nerd," and most people are like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "That's what makes me feel good. I like to know what's coming up. I like to know. I like to know when it's going to be a nice evening and I can enjoy a cigar and some whiskey on the deck. That stuff's important to me. So,
So when you're
oh, speaking of that, our friends in Dallas are getting leveled right now with a thunderstorm. Holy moly! Sorry about that, Dallas friends. Yeah, yikes.
when you're doing your shows and you have your chat windows and stuff, are you using the same computer to do all of your monitors, or do you run anything on a separate
Yeah.
computer?
No, for the show, I do. It comes off all off the Mac. Yeah,
Because I
and
have
one
my
single monitor.
laptop
One
off to
single
my
monitor.
side too,
Yeah, yeah, you
and
could do that.
I used to use it for LinkedIn because LinkedIn's comments don't come up in well, they do
Mm-hmm.
now, but Facebook doesn't come up in
Right,
StreamYard.
right,
Some of Facebook does. There's three. You got Facebook page, group, and
right, right.
whatever the other one is. But yeah, so there's all sorts of workarounds. But I end up with 50 screens.
Yeah, yeah. It can be. I like it that way. Like I said, I try to optimize for sound as opposed to video, but it is what it is, right?
Well, that's
I
exactly what I do
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's going to be a podcast at some point, an audio
Right,
podcast
right.
at the
Yeah. I
end
don't
of the
get enough
day.
video. I don't get enough video views for it to matter, just to be honest. But for this kind of stuff, for the 5 or 12 or whatever we get on a live show, I hope I can't look right. I mean, my camera is right above me right here. And so whether I'm looking at you or looking at me, it's hard to tell the difference because this is the advantage. I have these really kind of squinty eyes. They're hard to see. So like, you don't even know what I'm looking at anyways. I could be sleeping most of the time and you'd never know.
We
But
have time for one more quick.
yeah, 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 go. Yeah.
Our show last night, we were talking about advertising and talking about putting videos up on YouTube, and
Yeah.
most of the time videos aren't getting much play on YouTube, especially when we do our
Right.
streams.
Right. For
For
sure.
whatever
For sure.
reason, it's
Yeah.
always low numbers.
Right.
However, I posted a video right before the show last night. I just did a clip of one of our episodes. So one of the interviews I did was a woman named Gina Grad. She's used to be the news person for Adam Carolla. And I was talking to her, and I just made a 2.5, maybe 3 minute clip, put it on YouTube, and normally 40 views, something like that. It had just under 2,000 right before the show.
Wow.
No rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
Have no idea why. It just boom, there it is. And then I've got others that I put up, and I get 40 views.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Was it a reel on YouTube?
no, I've been using the YouTube Shorts as well,
Shorts. That's the right term. Yeah, shorts.
experimenting with it, and I've
Yeah.
probably maybe have 20, 25 of them posted at this point.
Yeah.
Just under a minute long clips,
Yeah.
usually 30-second clips.
Yeah.
And those, again, no rhyme, no reason.
Yeah.
Most of them are like 1, 5, 30, 40 views.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've got a few of them up there, they're getting like 200. But I've had 2 videos do about 1,500,
Hmm.
and I've got one of them that did 7,000. So 3 of them got really good views. The rest of them, 30,
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
So
It's a weird. It's
I
a
do
weird
not
system.
understand
No.
why.
Nah, it's a weird system. It's a weird system. I wish I could take advantage of it more. I don't. For most of the folks that listen to this show, they don't care. We're doing some different things at Gallup where it does matter, and so we're getting some different results there. But yeah, no, it's certainly available out there, and it's interesting. I don't mess with it as much as I probably should.
Well, we teach the musicians how to market themselves.
Yeah,
And one of the things that everybody wants is social media.
yeah,
And so I want to experiment and find things that truly work.
yeah, yeah.
And so we experiment with everything, the thumbnails, we experiment with the titles, we experiment with everything. But there was no rhyme or reason. There was nothing different from yesterday's video than things we've done in the past. And right out of the gate, it got a large number of views.
Mm-hmm.
And it stalled again. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gone
Yeah.
past 2,500 views.
Right.
But
Yeah. Well, I think comedy is perfect for that, for those kinds of stand up, the reels or the shorts that I watch. The comedy ones are the best. I think
I
that's
love it.
that's a
I
good
got introduced. I
good
mean, I'm a
segment
big
for that.
comedy fan, and I've done stand up quite a bit, so I enjoy it. That's part of what I like to do.
Yeah.
But I've come across some comedians that I've never heard of that are just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's good exposure, right? So, well, Jay, hang tight for me 1 second.
Will
Let me
do, sir.
wrap this thing up. We'll do a smidgen of post show. Couple reminders on the way. Well, one, Jay, thanks for coming out.
My
Two,
pleasure.
yeah, it's always great to have you. If you want to contact the show, send me an email, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. You can leave a message if you want to do that. HomeGadgetGeeks.com. There's a little blue button down there. Nobody uses it, so I don't know why I keep saying it, but I will say, though, the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners, get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust, and you know that's Christian. You can get more information, maplegrovepartners.com, and he's setting up just about any kind of hosting you can imagine, and he's doing a bang-up job of doing it. Plans start as little as $10 a month, so give it a try. And then one more reminder, not one more, but here at the end of the show, if you haven't tried HelloFresh yet, or if you want to try it again, well, I shouldn't say try it again. If you haven't tried it yet, they're giving you $110 right now off of plans, $40 off the first month alone. So if you want to give it a try, it has revolutionized the way I cook. We just eat a whole lot better with it. Check it out, theaverageguy.tv/HelloFresh. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv//live, and love to have you a part of it. If you're listening to the audio and you've never come out for a live show, why not? Why not come out and join us Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern? Love to have you a part of at least in the chat room as well. Next week, Marv B is back. You know Marv, he's been on the show before. He's always a ton of fun. Marv B's coming back, and I'm sure we'll have some networking stuff and some enterprise stuff, and Marv's just a good time. So come back next week. Make sure you join us live. For everyone listening live, Alex, Joe, Ken, Brian, and Tony, who is out there, thanks for coming out. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Jay, thanks. Hopefully that was helpful on your on your fire pit, and give you some things to get ready for with that.
That is so much more than I thought would go into a fire pit.
Well,
you know, everywhere we go, there's a fire pit everywhere we go, especially in Kentucky and Tennessee.
For sure.
My wife's from Tennessee. I worked in Nashville.
For sure.
That's where we met, but everywhere we go is a fire pit.
Yeah.
And here in Kentucky, it's the same thing. There's fire pits everywhere.
Yeah.
And if I look across the water, directly across the water from me, there's a family with a huge yard, and all they did is just dug a hole, put some rocks around it. That's their fire pit.
Yeah, that works.
But I noticed they dug it up the other day and covered it, so it's now going to be grass again, and they're putting a nicer fire pit up closer to their house.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's
I
the
think
season, I guess.
The code in Nebraska or the code in Bellevue is 15 feet from any structure. The fire pit has to be 15 feet. So I'm not saying this as you think about your structures and stuff like that, you just, whatever. Just make sure it's a safe distance from whatever structure, so you're not burning your place down.
Yeah, the water would be, if I were to guess, I would say about 25 feet from the house.
So half that distance, that's a tight space. You think 25 feet and you're like, that should be plenty. It'll be a little tight for you. Yeah.
Well, I noticed the neighbors, their backyard's roughly the same as mine, so it's about 20 or 25 feet out. But their half moon ends at the water.
Right.
So it's at the water, and then it's got like 2 steps down into the water.
Yeah, right.
So you go fire pit, step, water.
Yeah.
So,
and that's another way for you to do that, right? Move the fire pit closer to the water and have the seating closer to the house. Right? Yeah.
That would allow us to have that wall and the seating.
Yeah.
And it would kind of like infinity drop into the water.
Yeah. Mock it up, and figure out what looks best for you, and then start. Because once you start moving stuff, you don't want to do it twice. No. You really want to.
I would just rather hire somebody.
If
anybody wants to come over my house and help me out with a fire pit, I'm a great assistant. I'm just not a good lead.
Well, I'm trying to get my kids over here to help me dig out the rest of, it's all outlined now. Now the hard part is digging out the, leveling it, and that's going to require a little bit a couple hours of digging, and so I was talking to him the other day, and I was like, hey, they're like, oh yeah, Dad, we're busy, Dad, we're busy. I'm busy. Super busy. The
That's every
cat's in
time
the
I ask my
cradle and
kids
the
anything.
silver spoon,
Yep.
right? Little boy blue and the man in the moon.
That's a great song.
Uh,
Do you listen to the original or the Ugly Kid Joe version?
oh, I didn't know there was an Ugly Kid Joe version.
There is an ugly, and I like it better.
Really?
Yeah. I
Why?
mean, I'm sure there's about 50 covers of that song.
Yeah.
However, if anybody knows of Ugly Kid Joe, they were like an 80s hair band, but very good. Matter of fact, I have a guest coming up. I know we didn't talk about any of that stuff, but I've got a band, Iron Tiger, is coming on my show. And Iron Tiger is like a spoof band, like an 80s spoof band. So they dress up like the old hair bands used to.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I'm
Nice.
excited for that one. It's gonna
Nice.
be a fun one.
How many? Who is it? The whole band or
No,
the
I've got
lead singer?
the guitar player is the one that's coming
Okay.
in. Guitar
Okay.
and singer.
Okay.
So all one
Cool.
person. The one person is
Cool.
the guitar
Yeah.
player and he's a singer.
And the singer. So what you'll have one on the show.
Yeah.
Cool.
He
Cool
is
stuff. Well,
he's definitely a character for sure.
Joe said we might have misunderstood what he meant. If you Google feed bin patio, you can see what he's talking about. So let's Google feed
Yeah, I think I know
bin.
what you're talking about, Joe. Let me check too.
And oh yeah, yeah. My brother's done one of these, Joe, and on his farm where it's like a grain silo that they've turned into a here. I'll show
nope,
you.
I did misunderstand you, for sure.
Yeah, it's like click that one. Wow, the metal. I was gonna say, click the metal one, Jay. Anyways, doesn't matter. Yeah, these you can create a little. He created a bar out of his. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about here.
Well, here, let me add fire pit.
Holy buckets! How do I? This is differently. Choose what you want to share. That's a whole different look.
Yeah, it is different, isn't it?
Wow. I guess I haven't shared my screen in a while.
Dude, look at this. That is awesome.
Hold on. Yeah, that's what he was talking about. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yep. Yeah, my brother had one of those on his farm and he turned it into a bar.
Joe. My wife is gonna make me do this.
Look at that one. Then you get you don't have enough space for that.
And then she'd say, "Well, we could put a curtain all the way around it." And then, I mean, every time I show her anything, she takes it to the extreme. Joe, you are going to get me in trouble.
Well, there you go. It would hold some heat in. That's for sure. That's what you have right now, right?
I have one that's similar. This is what I was looking. This is what that's what we looked at.
Yeah.
I have one that's more like this.
Yeah. And I thought about getting one of those for the deck, just when we're sitting around at a table, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, my mother-in-law, she had one that she didn't use, so she gave it to us.
Yeah.
It almost looks identical to that.
Yeah. Yep. Probably a little 40,000 BTU.
The problem with it is the propane does not fit underneath it. Ours is in wicker; it's stone around it.
Oh, got it.
So you got this, and then you got a propane tank just sitting right
and
there.
a propane tank hanging off. Yeah, that's not.
It's not attractive.
So Joe says it's a cool idea. Maybe this will stop you. Unfortunately, it's caught on, so it's getting harder to get cheap bins. Yeah,
probably not hard here.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. I don't know if I don't like things. Yeah, we talked about in the beginning of the show. I don't like awnings or things over my head when I'm outside. I kind of like the openness of it. And I don't know if I'd want to be burning a fire pit inside look at that thing. That looks nice.
Those are the wood cubbies I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. No, right on. No, right on. Yeah. That's a pizza oven, fire pit.
That could be the retaining wall.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. You could
That's a
have a retaining wall and then separate fireplaces
right.
inside the retaining wall.
That's what I'm saying. Just make a little wall like that. Get a little
Fire
pizza oven
everywhere.
and
Make a right
make
now
pizza while we sit by the fire.
these rocket stove earth burned rocket stoves that they build these rocket stoves, and then they put dirt, cob and dirt around them, and you fire the thing up. Those have gotten real popular in the prepper space. Heat up the dirt. Like,
You see,
come on,
you see
people.
that thing there. That's what you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now they, with the contest where my daughter won the guitar, they were also, it was either going to be a guitar or this.
Oh, these are nice.
And when she entered, she obviously wanted the guitar. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, maybe they'll let you choose. They
Yeah.
didn't let her choose, but luckily she got that guitar.
Well, that's good. Yeah, they're not terribly expensive. These are like $300.
Yeah. Here's my new fire pit.
Yeah, there you go. That's a Kentucky fire pit right there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, this is more than what most people around here have.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
literally just have the stones.
No, right on. There's that lid to the solo stove, all the way over there to the right. Yeah, right. Those have become real popular to help kind of push the heat out, as
So it's
opposed
much
to.
higher off the stove than I expected.
I think that is I don't think that's the brand one. I think somebody made that one. I think the branded one's a little bit lower, but I don't know. I think that middle picture there is that, I don't know. I haven't seen them in person, so I don't know. But
See,
guys,
this
if
is
you're
what I
listening
like.
live, thanks for coming out tonight. We'll see you next week. And don't forget, we got Marv B. But I'll see you guys next week. Have a good evening and have a great weekend. We'll take care.